How cult leaders hijack your mind. We're diving deep into the psychology of cult leaders, how they hijack your thoughts, how they bend your emotions, how they make intelligent, rational people surrender their freedom willingly. And would you know if someone was brainwashing you right now? Not in a movie, not in a cult documentary, but here in your life. Through a leader you admire, through a group you belong to, through a cause that feels bigger than yourself. The frightening truth is this: cult leaders don't look like villains. They look like saviors. And the way they hijack your mind begins not with fear, but with love. Humans are wired to belong. It's not weakness, it's survival. Thousands of years ago, being alone meant death. So our minds crave acceptance, identity, and certainty. Cult leaders understand this craving better than anyone. They don't just sell you a belief. They sell you a family, a place where your doubts vanish, a story where you matter, and it starts with a tactic so disarming. Most people never see it coming: love bombing. Love bombing feels intoxicating. You're praised, admired, hugged. Strangers call you brother or sister. You feel seen, finally, in a way the outside world never offered. But beneath the warmth, a trap is being set. Let's step into one of history's darkest examples: Jim Jones. In the 1950s, Jones didn't preach hate. He preached equality. At a time of racial division, he welcomed black and white members into the same church. He fed the poor, he clothed the homeless. He was magnetic, compassionate, the kind of leader people dream of following. This was love bombing on a mass scale. He gave people the two things they craved most: a cause to believe in, and a community to belong to. But every smile, every sermon, every embrace was the bait. As the years passed, Jones began tightening control. Members were told to cut ties with family outside the church. Doubts were labeled sin, and loyalty was measured by how much you sacrificed: your money, your freedom, even your children. By the time Jones relocated his followers to Jonestown, Guyana, they no longer thought of themselves as individuals. They were soldiers of a divine mission. Their critical thinking had been replaced with one thought: Jim Jones is the truth. And when the order came, to drink the poisoned Kool-Aid, over 900 people obeyed, not because they wanted to die, but because they could no longer imagine a reality outside of Jones' control. This is how cult leaders hijack your mind. Jim Jones wasn't unique. Every cult leader follows a chillingly similar script. Step 1, love bombing. Flood the target with affection, belonging, and validation. Step 2, isolation. Cut off outside voices, friends, family, media. Without outside reference points, the leader becomes the only truth. Step 3, dependency. You are told your worth comes only from the group. Your meals, your safety, your identity, all tied to obedience. Step 4, fear. Once dependency is complete, love turns to control. Disobedience means shame, exile, or eternal punishment. This blueprint has been repeated across centuries, from religious cults to corporate movements, from small communes to political empires. But here's the most terrifying part. You don't join a cult thinking it's a cult. You join thinking it's salvation. The leader doesn't demand at first. They offer. They give. They present you with invisible contracts, promises of safety, community, enlightenment. And when you say yes, you've already begun the process of surrender. What most people never realize is this: the cage isn't built overnight. It's built one agreement at a time, one small compromise, one small silence, until the walls are complete and freedom is a memory. So the question is, could it happen to you? Would you recognize the moment when admiration becomes dependency? Would you see the trap beneath the love? By the time you realize you're trapped, the chains are invisible. You don't see bars, you don't hear locks, and yet you can't leave. This is the genius of cult leaders. They don't just control your body, they rewire your mind. And now we step inside that machinery, the system of psychological levers and gears that turn ordinary people into unquestioning followers. Every cult begins in light, joy, love, belonging. But the moment loyalty is secured, the leader flips the switch. Now love becomes a weapon. Approval is conditional. Affection must be earned, and slowly fear creeps in. Fear of exile. Fear of punishment. Fear of being cut off from the very family you were promised. This is not random. It's engineered. And it's the first cog in the machinery of control. Charles Manson understood this better than anyone. When he gathered his family in the 1960s, he didn't start with commands. He started with identity erosion. Manson gave his followers new names, new rules, new symbols. The goal? To break down the old self, the one that thought for itself, the one tied to the outside world, and rebuild them as blank slates. Manson told his followers the world was ending, that only he had the truth. Every song he sang, every drug he offered, was another tool of conditioning. And when the time came, he didn't need to lift a knife himself. His followers committed murder in his name. Why? Because their individual identities had been replaced by the will of the cult. This is the second cog in the machinery: identity erosion. Once the old self is broken, the leader installs a new operating system. Tool number 1, confession. Followers are pushed to reveal secrets, sins, vulnerabilities. These are then weaponized for control. Tool number 2, ritual. Endless chanting, singing, meditating, or even labor. These rituals wear down critical thought, replacing it with rhythm and obedience. Tool number 3, information control. The outside world is painted as corrupt, evil, or dangerous. Only the cult's truth is valid, and without outside perspectives, followers become trapped in a closed loop of belief. These tools don't just force obedience, they create dependency. You no longer trust yourself. You only trust the leader. Perhaps the most chilling example of obedience was Heaven's Gate in the 1990s. The group's leader, Marshall Applewhite, convinced followers that Earth was doomed, and salvation lay in leaving their human bodies behind, to board an alien spacecraft. At first, the demands were small: celibacy, isolation, strict rules about food and clothing. But slowly, the group's lives became entirely scripted. They ate the same meals. They wore the same uniforms. Their individuality dissolved. And in 1997, when Applewhite declared the time had come, 39 people willingly drank poison. Not out of despair, but out of obedience to the leader who had become their only source of truth. This is the machinery at full power. Love becomes fear. Identity becomes erased. Obedience becomes death. So let's step back and look at the machine. It begins with love. It tightens with fear. It rewrites identity. It enforces obedience through rituals, confession, and control. The result? An invisible prison, where the locks are not chains, but beliefs, where the prisoners guard themselves. Now we will uncover how to break free, the defense mechanisms, the red flags you must recognize, and the psychological weapons that can shatter the machinery of control before it takes over your life. The escape routes, the strategies that turn prisoners back into free thinkers. Every spell has a weakness. Every machine has a fault line. And every cult, no matter how powerful, carries within it the seeds of collapse. But the most important truth? The lock was never on the outside. It was always in the mind. The first step is recognition. And recognition requires awareness. Red flag number 1, love bombing. If someone showers you with instant love, belonging, and acceptance, ask yourself, what do they want in return? Red flag number 2, isolation. If you're asked to cut ties with family or friends, it's not for your growth. It's for control. Red flag number 3, information filters. When only one source of truth is allowed, and all outside knowledge is condemned, you're not learning, you're being programmed. The tragedy is that people don't notice these flags until it's too late. But once you do, you begin to reclaim power. Stephen Hassan was once a devoted member of the Moonies, the Unification Church. He was intelligent, ambitious, and idealistic, but he was also vulnerable. And like so many others, he was recruited with love bombing. Hassan was cut off from his family. He was given endless duties. He stopped sleeping, stopped thinking. His mind was on autopilot. And then, a car accident changed everything. While recovering in the hospital, his parents arranged for ex-members to visit. For the first time in years, he heard voices that pierced the cult's wall of silence. Doubt crept in. And with doubt came freedom. Hassan eventually left the Moonies and went on to become one of the world's leading experts on cult recovery. His story shows us something crucial. It is possible to wake up, but it begins with exposure, with outside information, with a crack in the wall. Breaking free is not just about leaving physically. It's about reclaiming the mind. Step 1, Rebuild critical thinking. Cult leaders thrive on binary thinking. Us versus them. Good versus evil. Right versus wrong. Reintroduce nuance. Ask questions. The spell weakens with every question you dare to ask. Step 2. Reclaim identity. Remember who you were before. Reconnect with old friends, old passions, old values. The cult erased your past to own your future. Reclaiming memory is reclaiming power. Step 3. Emotional detox. Fear doesn't vanish overnight. Even after escape, many ex-members feel guilt, shame, or dread. These emotions are part of the conditioning. But naming them, saying, "This fear is not mine, it was given to me," is how you break its hold. Recovery is not an instant awakening. It's a slow unbinding of the mind, but every thread you pull loosens the leader's grip. So how do you protect yourself before it's too late? How do you guard loved ones who might already be drifting toward the pull of a manipulator? Here are the shields. Shield number 1, education. Know how cults work. The more you understand the tactics, the less power they hold. Shield number 2, community. Isolation is their weapon. Connection is your defense. Stay rooted in diverse relationships. Shield number 3, dialogue. If someone you love is drifting into a group, avoid confrontation. Confrontation pushes them deeper. Instead, ask questions. Plant seeds of doubt gently, without attacking their beliefs. Shield number 4, independent sources. Expose yourself and others to multiple streams of information. Truth thrives in open air. These shields are not impenetrable, but they can buy you time. And sometimes, time is all that's needed for the spell to break. In the end, the greatest defense against cults is not force, it's not confrontation. It's not chains or walls, it's freedom of mind. The ability to think, to question, to doubt, to refuse any one voice claiming absolute truth. Cult leaders promise salvation, but they deliver slavery. And the antidote to slavery is not more chains. It's light. It's thought. It's freedom. Cult psychology doesn't just live in remote communes or secret temples. It's in your feed, in your workplace, sometimes, even in your closest relationships. Protect your mind. Protect your freedom. If this opened your eyes, share it, because the person you save from manipulation might be someone you love. Do you think you would recognize a cult if you were inside one? Drop your comments below. Next time, we dive even deeper into the psychology of manipulation. Not just cult leaders, but everyday influencers, politicians, and so-called mentors who weaponize belonging to build their own empires.